Real quick, before we jump into the show, we created the Collecting Keys podcast to be a real estate investing podcast that is created by real estate operators for real estate operators. And we want operators everywhere to know what it really takes these days to be successful in this business, rather than all the fluff that all the other content creators and podcasters out there make. And so one of the challenges with this is that it's challenging to grow because most operators are too busy out there working, right? And they aren't always learning or actively seeking new learning material. And so if you could please share this show with any fellow operators you can text it to them, you can post it on your socials, you can leave us a good review that you then share somewhere. That would be amazing. But really, whatever, it really helps us continue to get excited to create content. And it will also help you because everyone that you expose us to will get better as a real estate operator and close more deals. So if you could do that for us, it would really mean a ton. And otherwise, we appreciate you guys. And let's get into this episode. It's like the Cold War of real estate up here right now. What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is the show by real estate operators for real estate operators. And today we have a special guest, Aaron Bihl, who is filling in for Dan, who is off on vacation with his wife. So you have me, Mike DeHaan, Dylan Cook over in Cincinnati, and Aaron Bihl down in San Antonio. And if you don't know Aaron, I don't know what to tell you because he is all over the place with the wholesale and flipping space. He's been around for a long time. So for Aaron, for those people who are unfortunate enough not to know you, why don't you give us a quick 60 seconds on why people should care about you and what you do?
Well, gosh, I've known you for 5 or 6 years now, but
you were what I call my first real estate friend because we connected.
I appreciate that.
On that meetup that we went to for CCF in Forest so long ago. And we randomly roomed together because we were the two people that were like, I would say least socially awkward to like reach out and actually like try to schedule that.
Right.
Yeah. And we just connected right away.
Yeah. So I've been doing this 5 or 6 years, kind of done everything in the off-market world, off-market direct to seller. I've flipped, I've wholesaled, I've wholetailed, I've bought land, done some commercial stuff, mainly in San Antonio, now kind of doing stuff all over. So right now, main markets for residential stuff are San Antonio and then Lexington, Kentucky. And starting to do commercial deals kind of nationwide. So, or industrial type deals nationwide is kind of what today looks like.
Yeah. And you're the classic wholesaler in the way that I say you're very much an opportunist. Like I've seen you do so many different kinds of deals over the years. You were like the trailer boy for a while.
Dude, I still love trailers.
And doing all sorts of stuff with these weird mobile homes. You still love trailers.
They have a special place in my heart.
I think that's so market dependent because it's funny, like, depending where you're at, people won't even touch them, but you've made a killing off those down there. And really quick, what's your Instagram too, so people can hit you a follow?
Just Aaron.Bihl. So my last name is Bihl.
Cool.
He's got 10,900 followers right now. So after this podcast airs, maybe we can give him above 11,000.
Yeah, it hits 11,000. I make like a political post and it like drops down. Mike unfollows me every time. I'm like, hey, Mike, come back. And then he comes back.
Oh, I don't unfollow you. That's how you can tell, though, when you do a good punchy political post. Because I tend to be on the other side of the aisle than most real estate guys. And tell you what, I know when I hit a good one because I will see my followers drop. Like there's like a very immediate. And I'm like, ooh, that definitely hit a nerve. But definitely go give Aaron a follow. He also likes to talk trash, has great opinions on what it actually takes to be an operator, and is just overall entertaining. So if you like our vibe, he is definitely your kind of guy. But cool. So in the world of real estate and I guess the economy, it's funny, by the time this episode comes out, it will be a week after we record it. Everything could be fundamentally different, but we have seen a massive drop in pretty much everything over the last 5 days. Stocks are down way down. What are they like at 25% drop at this point?
From the peak, yeah. Yeah.
From the peak, yeah. Crypto's way down. Are rates down yet? I don't know.
10 years going down too. It's usually you don't see those two trade together, right? They're usually one's up, one's down. So
yeah. And there's just a general uncertainty in the economy and real estate and everything else right now. But the funny thing is, and I would say this is where I think the value is of being a business owner, is you can kind of just like roll with it and still be fine. Because I don't know about you guys, but like I see a lot of doom and gloom by the people in my circle that aren't really like doing anything, right? Like they're kind of relying on passive wealth generation, but people that are business owners are kind of just like, we'll figure it out, just keep on moving along. So it doesn't affect us that much, like big picture.
Yeah, no, I would echo that for sure. I mean, from a business perspective, we might take a little bit more of a conservative approach on like calculating our ARVs and stuff. But as long as you're just calculating that into the math that you're doing and the conversations you're having with sellers, you can still make deals happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the part of being an entrepreneur is just like you said earlier, an opportunist. And think how much our own businesses have changed in the past 2 or 3 years just to keep deals rolling.
Yeah, totally right. I mean, from back when 2021, when you could just make money off of anything to now, it's drastically different. What are you seeing down in San Antonio, Aaron? Since your guys' market, it had one like the longest times on market of anywhere in the country down there for a little while.
Dude, it is so slow.
Is it?
Like super, super slow. Like if you have a flip and it's like priced like great, like you might sit 30 days without a showing.
That's crazy.
Investors still seem to be buying. They're just picky, which is crazy because so I started doing stuff in like, central Kentucky and it's like the complete opposite. Like super hot. Like I post a deal on Facebook and within like 20 minutes have like 15, 20 people reach out. I put stuff in our Facebook groups here and it's like, you might get like one email over the course of like a week. But it's also, I have connections here, so I know a lot. It's a lot easier to sell deals here just because I know more people.
Sure.
But they're definitely like, people are definitely thirstier in Kentucky. And so it's interesting to kind of see the two different markets of, it's super slow here. It's still pretty hot there. But I think, talking to you guys and kind of friends all over, I feel like everything's so cyclical.
It is.
Different markets kind of hit different peaks at different times. And you can kind of be like, oh, if this is happening in Washington, it'll probably be here in a few months or, those sort of things. So it's always kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's market dependent. So like up here, the investor buyer crew is dead. There's like 10 people that are still buying wholesale deals up here. That's it. But on the retail side, if you have something in the affordable price, my stuff will sell pretty quick. Like I sold one of my rentals last month that was right at the bottom end of like the average price point. I guess like the mean price point, right? So the average price point is about 400. I listed it at 410. And it went pending in 2 days for over ask. Right. Good neighborhood.
Yeah, that doesn't exist here.
Yeah. It doesn't exist at all. Yeah.
Cincinnati, I feel like you either get that offer that you want the first 72 hours or it sits for 4 months. There's no in between.
Right.
Like
as soon as it's like tainted, it goes past like the honeymoon phase of being a new listing, you're completely screwed.
Like we'll see too is like people will be interested, but I'm interested, but I want to look for like 90 days and like look at every house on the market. And then they might come back and make an offer. Like it's just, there's zero like urgency with anything.
Yeah. We've found that on the investor side very heavily. This has been something we've had to change about our process as we're starting to do longer closings just because buyers are taking longer times to make decisions for wholesale deals. So even though it's only a small population, there's still a larger number of opportunities that we're competing with their business for, right? And so what'll happen is they will kick us down the line until they know it's like their last day to make a decision or our last day of our due diligence process. And they'll be like, well, I couldn't find anything else that I like better, so I'll take your deal now, right? And they'll just do that repeatedly. So we have had so many deals that it has taken us like 2 full weeks to dispo. And then finally, when we get to the end of the 2 weeks, we're still selling to the guy that we talked to on the first day. He just dicked us around for 2 weeks, right? When he couldn't find anything else.
Then did he beat you up on price after that? Did he ask for, did he knew you were screwed?
Sometimes, like not a lot, because at the same time, it's like mutually assured destruction because they don't want to be like that because there also isn't a lot of deal finders.
True.
Right? So they know that if they're that guy, that we're not going to bring stuff to them anymore. It's like the Cold War of real estate up here right now. It's a weird vibe.
I mean, like I said on the show, my January and February are pretty good. Like my March right now is like pretty slow. We only have 2, one closing Friday, one closing next week.
Yeah.
And it's only like mid-20s for revenue wise. And so I don't know, like I see this and I'm trying to send out more deals, keep doing more marketing, tried PPL again, cold calling again now with Aaron's company. And I think it's just one of those times where you're just like, you have to fight through it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what else to say other than just don't give up. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. I mean, and optimize, right? So like you just brought on a sales manager, an acquisition manager.
Yeah, I brought in an acquisition guy, Tony. And honestly, that has been kind of eye-opening because I was at the gym and he's like, hey, the seller disagreed to our verbal offer. And they haven't signed that one yet, full disclosure. So I'm trying to get them back on the lines. But as he's kind of working leads and I'm going back through the CRM and be like, okay, well, I can assign, these like really like hundreds of leads that I'm backlogged on. I'm going through and there's two things I'm realizing. One is that we're probably just leaving a whole lot of money on the table because there's not proper follow-up. And then two, I've gone through some of these now and like, okay, we would have been at call it 100K. And I go into the auditor site and it's sold a couple of months ago for 80K. Right. And those are the ones that sting the worst. Right. So I've had probably 5 or 6 of those just in the past couple of days going back through the CRM.
Yeah. I mean, and there's probably even more than that, right? If you go into like the trenches, there's probably so many deals that you missed out on over like the year when it was just you, especially because you just had a kid 6 months ago and you're distracted and you're doing everything else. You know, you've been wasting time coming on here for 45 minutes or an hour a week.
I think it's been about a year now.
Probably it's been a little while. Yeah, pretty close. But what does your team look like now, Aaron, down there in San Antonio? And is your team that's working for you, are they all local? Or do you have a team like in Lexington as well?
It's a great question. They're mostly local. So right now I have 3 acquisitions people. They're all local.
Oh, damn.
I have a dispo guy who's randomly in South Carolina. And then I have VA lead managers and a whole lot of cold callers doing pretty much all marketing right now is cold calling for lead gen. So yeah, so 3 local guys doing, which we've kind of gone more virtual on stuff. Even the like local deals we're running more virtually. Like we'll go look at it if we have to, but we're not like, let's go see everything.
That must be recent. I feel like that you didn't really have much of a team even like a month ago.
No, it's very recent. And I've kind of made this transition to like literally everyone's commission only, which could go
that's nice.
Yeah, really good or really bad. But it's like everyone who I've hired is kind of in a unique position where it works. And like my perspective on it just kind of has to change. Like I can't be like, hey, stop everything you're doing, you work for me. It's kind of like, I'll let you do your stuff on the side. This will replace that eventually if you like actually work at it. So then a kind of different approach. But I have a dispo guy who reached out to me probably 6 or 7 months ago and was like, hey, I want to work for you. And I've kind of known him for a while and he's done dispo for a pretty big company. And I kind of just like pushed him off like, hey, I'm not ready yet. And then he's kind of slowly ramping up and will be full-time soon. And then I had a full-time AM and then just brought on 2 more. Because honestly, like we literally can't keep up with leads. So with like my cold callers, we're bringing in like probably 50 leads a day, which we're like cherry picking stuff. And it's still like, we're leaving so much stuff.
That's why it has to be all virtual now. Yeah. I mean, if you weren't doing that virtually, it would be a freaking nightmare. You'd have like full-time drivers just traveling all over San Antonio.
Yeah. So it's a lot of like right now trying to figure out how to make that more efficient. You know, I can't be comping every house. I can't be running numbers and everything, which is kind of what I've always done. So trying to figure out how to make all of them more efficient. And once we catch up, I'll probably scale up the caller, scale up.
How are you doing the from cold caller to specific acquisitions person? Is it round robin? Whoever gets to it first, you each get a set amount of leads?
Whoever gets to it first. I want them to fight over them.
You create like the Hunger Games, like cornucopia. They got to go like grab the best weapons at the start and kill each other over them.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is always a battle because it's like you want people to like want to work together and like it be this, you know, like community and like, hey, we work together and all of that. And it's like, how do you create that and also make it competitive? Which is kind of the balance I'm trying to figure out now.
The way I see it, because I know you're a fitness guy, I think it needs to be competitive like and friendly like it is in a CrossFit gym, right? Where, you know, you can do the business together and you can celebrate each other's wins, but also if he cleans more than you, you're like, fuck that guy, right?
Right.
You want to drive to do more than him in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much the way it is. And it's still a thing of like when people start getting deals, it's contagious. I mean, everyone knows this business comes and goes in waves. So it's kind of like you see someone else getting a deal and you're like, oh, I want to follow up with this person. Like I want a deal, you know? So it all just kind of like comes and goes. So hopefully bring in the other guys can kind of, spur my other guy on a little bit and then hopefully we'll all get more deals.
It's not just momentum against like other team members too, but I've even found like if I lock up a deal earlier in the day, I'm more incentivized to keep pounding the phones, right? So
for sure.
It's a person by person thing and a person, individual and team based.
Well, it's crazy because I even see that with like all the cold callers that I still manage. I'm like trying to keep them happy because if they start getting leads, they'll get more leads. If they are calling like lists that are trash and they're not getting anything, then they're like, this sucks. And then it's like they take that into the next however many calls.
Aaron, you have massive lead flow. Dylan, you have massive lead backlog. What do your guys' processes look like for how you have your team doing that basic underwriting so that you aren't wasting a bunch of time?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have basically an Excel spreadsheet, and then my guy has had some real estate experience, so he's pretty decent with the comps. I showed him my processes, showed him that we check more pending transactions right now than anything. But his area, like we've done a couple, like, hey, go comp this property, and then like we'll just compare, why we got to these values, and we've relatively been pretty close. I tend to be a little bit more conservative than he does, and I think that's because of his role as the acquisitions person. But then a lot of stuff we try to get on the front end. So like, we'll talk to sellers through what the rehab's needed, but we also follow the standards. Like if it's a medium flip, it's probably 50 to 55 a square foot, just on the preliminary stuff. And then it's not until we actually have the walkthrough that we dial in those numbers, and I have an Excel sheet that's just plug and chug for him.
Okay. And then he basically goes through every single one. Do you have like an immediate disqualification on things? Do you have like a punch list?
Basically, we don't disqualify things until let's say take us off your list. If they are like, it's a $300,000 house and they're $400K or whatever, like we won't entertain anything like that. But if they have a certain level of motivation, and then there's tasks inside of the CRM we use, Simply. So he's responsible for basically resetting the task if he doesn't get a hold of them. And then if it's a certain amount of time, that kicks back to Kimmy, who's the lead manager. And then I have to verify all the offers that still go out.
Cool. Easy enough. What about for you, Aaron? Because you're getting a ton of leads, 50 leads a day.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're super backlogged, but I still kind of run off like numbers and offers on everything, which I'm trying to get away from.
Mm-hmm.
Playing around with some like ChatGPT prompts, which seem promising. We'll see. Because I want to get to the point where the goal is to get out 10 offers a day amongst our guys. So we're not doing that now, but it's like, that's kind of where.
Is that each or across all of them?
Across all of them. So I feel like with our lead flow, we should be able to get a deal a day. Maybe that's aggressive, but we're not there yet. So it's like, I'm not going to comp 50 houses a day, or that's like all I'm going to be doing. So the process we're kind of going towards is they'll do that. And then trying to get the prompt in ChatGPT to kind of give me like a, how certain are you in this? And then if it's something weird, then I'll look at it, or my main acquisitions guy will look at it. But if it's like cookie cutter house, it should be pretty good. And then my dispo guy, me or my dispo guy will kind of sign off on anything before we send a contract, which was kind of his idea he did before. Cause he's like, hey, if I have to sell these, like I want to make sure they're not shit deals. Like I want to make sure that like I'm good with it before, cause acquisitions people just want to lock up deals, which like you can't blame them. But like Dylan just said, like, his guy's a lot less conservative than he is because, it's like, cool, I got a contract. So it's kind of, the idea is have that, kind of check and balance there with him being like, cool, I think we can sell this, or like, we're good. So
how do you balance that relationship right now between like a new acquisition team and a new dispo guy? Because I guess in my experience, when you have those separate, what almost always happens is you have an animosity that builds, right? So you'll have the acquisition guy is locking up contracts and the disposition guy can't sell them. Let's say the disposition guy sucks. He's not working hard enough, whatever. On the swing back, the disposition guy will say, I can't sell them because you're getting these shitty contracts that aren't sellable, right? How do you make it kind of like mutually beneficial so that they are getting as profitable as possible, but they're also not like, setting each other up for failure?
I don't have an answer to that. So we haven't run into that yet, which I'm sure we will at some point, right?
It will. It'll happen. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's hopefully, by them talking beforehand on deals, it's like, hey, do you think you can move this? What do you think you can move it at? Hopefully there's more of that, but I guess we will cross that bridge when we get there.
So what do you think, Dylan? Over or under in 3 months' time, Aaron has none of these people still working for him?
Oh, no, I'd give the over on that. I was going to say, if you told me
over.
one person, I'd say under. But
wait, I have how many?
I would say 3 months. We have 0 working for you. No, I'm kidding. I think it'll probably be longer than that. I'd say 6 months though. You probably have some decent churn because those are the human challenges that make sales so hard, right? In this business is there's such a long cash conversion cycle for the AMs. And then when like them getting paid is reliant on the strength of the dispo person, even if they do set themselves up for failure, the acquisitions guys with getting bad contracts, they don't always understand that. It gets hard.
It's human nature to blame someone else.
Totally, right? Like, so when I had my partnership program that we ran for a couple of years, where essentially what all of our partners were is they were dispo partners in the respective markets that were all across the country. The frustration that would come amongst the acquisition team when they would work their ass off on these deals, and then the dispo guy was not able to get them sold because, they had not evaluate the property correctly. They weren't putting in their work, right? Like they were misguided on different things with it, right? The amount of work it takes to get done, all that sort of stuff. It was a nightmare, dude. It was like a constant, just like, I was gonna say like bitch fest. People were complaining about stuff, but like it was a real problem. You know, we ended up having massive drop rates on our contracts, and then it would mess up the relationship with the partners, right? It's a challenging beast. It's such a weird thing because basically you have two sales parts of the business that almost like compete with each other, but at the same time are completely reliant on each other, right?
And dispo, I mean, has gotten harder like lately because of all the things we talked about.
Oh, dispo used to not even be a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You used to post, like you said earlier, just post it and it's gone.
Oh, cool. Deal sells itself, you know, like it's a good enough deal. It sells itself. And then now it's like the dispo guys literally like cold calling people, like, you know, hitting people up, actually selling them on the deal, like almost like your acquisitions guys do. There's no more just like blast it and it's gone unless it's like a crazy deal. And even then, people are so tired of seeing stuff, you can probably skate by several people. Kind of crazy.
Totally. You're starting to see that too, just really quick on that, how much harder it is to even get in front of people. And one of the things that we've tracked has been our unsubscribe rate and our open rate on our own buyers list, as well as the number of views that we get on Investor Lift, and how those numbers have trended over time over the last 6 months is crazy. We've had almost half of our buyers list that we've built over the years unsubscribe over the last 6 months.
I guess you don't have the magical AI algorithm with Investor Lift yet?
No.
It like creates a buyer out of thin air and they paid the most price and it's great.
Sure. I'll believe it. Yeah. All I know is that our deals on Investor Lift used to give like 150 to 200 looks. Now they get like 20. They get nothing because no one's looking for deals anymore.
It has to be buyer fatigue because I don't.
It has to be, dude.
Because I see something that comes in mind too. And I can just tell by the asking price and the zip code. I'm like, nah.
Nah. Yeah. And that's the challenge, I think, with wholesale real estate is being a buyer has become so commoditized. And there's such like a glut of opportunity. It feels like if you're a flipper that they no longer have any excitement around the deal. And so you almost have to like create that. Hey, so you've heard us mention our Scale community before, and I don't have a lot of time, so here are the quick highlights. In Scale, you get all of our processes and systems that we use to do about 150 deals every single year. You also get a community of investors that are verified crushing it in their markets. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be members. And that way you don't have to waste time with non-starters like you find in other groups. You also get preferred relationships with marketing companies and even lenders that will give you 100% financing. If you just heard all that and said, nah, I don't really need it, that's not going to help me, I don't know what to tell you. You're lying to yourself because all of those things are guaranteed to help you explode your business and buy more deals next year. So go to collectingkeys.com/scale and let's see if you qualify.
My whole thing has always been like, hey, like we like legitimately flip houses. Like we know a little more what we're talking about than just your like 19-year-old wholesaler. But it's like, how do you convince people of that? Like, so that's what we're kind of running into with some of the deals we're moving in Lexington. It's like all these people are like getting all feisty about stuff. And it's like, cool, I'm new to this market, but I'm not like new to this. You can find that we do stuff. But it's like, I'm sending out stuff of what I think is very conservative, real numbers based on like actual expertise. But no one knows that any different from like the random, just putting random numbers on stuff.
That'll take time though, as you grow your presence in Lexington. They're like, oh shit, he actually sends out good deals.
But yeah, that's the thing.
And that will pay dividends.
Yeah, because I mean, like here we get to the point where it's like, cool, I can sell stuff sight unseen once I've sold it to someone because they know it's real. You know, it's like you're not hiding anything. You're not doing that. That stuff just kind of takes time.
And the strength of those relationships, I think, is more important than ever. And then also just as a brand. So that was the one thing that we were good at with the partnership program with our back at home buyers is we built out the entire brand to be nationally present, right? So we had geo-targeted Google ads in every area. We built up the website and the reviews and everything to be location independent. And we built it as like a national company. And so then when we had deals going, when we found local buyers that were actually good, it was pretty easy to sell stuff, honestly, because they recognized us as somebody that was like a large company that must know what they're doing because they have this large presence. Sure enough, we were a bunch of ragtag people from all over the countries, and that was not true at all. But it's all about how it's presented. And so, you know, once you kind of get to that point, depending on how you want to structure your business, it all just comes around to perception for how legit people think you are.
I think Hormozy talks about that a lot because he had like some supplement brand. He's like, this is the best supplement in the world. But the people who sell the most supplements are the ones with the best marketing, not with the best product.
Absolutely. I can't even tell you the last time I looked at a supplement company because the one that I use and I like, every time they have a sale, they send me a text and they say, for the next 24 hours, everything's 50% off. So what do I do? And I go and buy enough for me to have for the next 3 months. And then sure enough, 3 months later, they're like, right now, for the next 24 hours, 50% off. And I go and do it again. I don't even know if there's better options, but they have a really good marketing process.
Yeah.
Aaron, you said something, I guess, twice about, and this will be quick, but like basically technology in real estate. You had mentioned ChatGPT, and I don't know if that was an AI thing was serious about Investor Lift or not.
It was like a serious, but also a jab, of course.
Yeah, that's expected. But I mean, I've always been super hesitant. Like I see these AI-based cold calling or calling platforms or texting platforms, and none of them always seem to work, or you can tell it's robotic. I guess, have you experimented with any of that? Do you have an opinion?
Not a lot. I mean, I use ChatGPT for like everything. Today, I have a guy who started 3 days ago trying to explain a sub 2 deal to an agent who doesn't know what a sub 2 deal is. Like he doesn't know, she doesn't know. I'm using ChatGPT to like dumb it down for both of them, right? So I do that kind of stuff all the time. As far as like any of the kind of like AI tools, I was really excited about this like new CRM that was supposed to like have all this like automation stuff with it, and it was like complete trash. I won't name it because I'm nice-ish. But even like recently, AI answering bot thing, it seems promising. And then I like listen to the call and it's like, hey, I'm Sophia, the AI bot. And it's like every time that happens, it's like click.
Yeah. And if it makes it to the end, it used to say ending call or like something like that.
I mean, I've had a few people like do it and talk to them. And I'm like, this is nice, but is that going to replace people or is it going to completely turn people off? You don't know. Any of the texting stuff, I feel like is just like a chat bot.
You can tell that right away. That's almost easier to tell.
Or even if it's good, they don't delay it. So it's like no one instantly responds a paragraph.
Yeah, right.
There hasn't been anything that I've seen that I'm like, this is going to change the world. Like, I mean, everyone's selling their like AI bullshit.
Yeah.
Magic AI list everywhere that's just like white labeled whatever else. But
yeah, most of it's a bunch of trash. But the answering ones is really what I was trying to get to, because I feel like it's been a thing for longer than people think. And it, in my opinion, hasn't really improved all that much.
The problem I have with it, it's one thing if you're selling widgets or you have a very high rate of calls, because then you have forgiveness if things get botched. The problem with our industry is if it botches one conversation, that could be a 50,000 conversations that it fucked up. Right? If you're selling like car warranties where every car sale is like $17 or whatever, you know, like that's fine because you can just churn through people. But I don't really want to trust my super high value potential deal on something that could be ruined just because I didn't want to pay a VA or a call center or an American, rep, whatever your flavor is. To me, like the risk reward to that is not worth it. It's asymmetrical. And like the only people that I've come to find that are super into that are people that have really small businesses, or they're like so cost sensitive that they're trying to squeeze so little out of like an already minute budget that I'm like, you deserve to not make any money. You're not willing to invest in your own fucking business, honestly.
That second point is what I've seen a lot. People who are like, I want to spend $1,000 a month on my business. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah. But I want to make $1 million this year.
Yeah, one thing I will add to that I've been pretty impressed with, I don't even use it anymore, but Deal Machine's dialer and some of the AI stuff they had built into that, I think is pretty good. It live transcribes it and kind of gives you like talking points and suggestions, which I thought was pretty good. The way also, they match area codes outbound to, wherever you're calling. Just some kind of cool stuff dialers do, but not at that price point.
That actually is cool though, because it's providing you information faster than you can get it, which is what I think AI is currently good for. When you're trying to use it to impersonate or replace people, that's like a stretch. But if you have something that can go and listen to the conversation and tell you the direction to go there, that makes sense. Like imagine if we could do this and it could listen to us talking and it went, oh, what's really trendy right now since you're on this topic is if you go this way. Like that's what other podcasts have been talking about. That's actually a really good idea, Riverside. You should fucking do that.
And I guess the other thing is AI, Resimply is kind of like summary tool. I use that a lot too.
Totally, yeah. The little AI one where it listens to the call and gives you a breakdown.
It's not amazing, but it's like, do I want to listen to a 16-minute call? No, or I can figure out if I do by clicking the button. So that I actually like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, so it's a 10-minute call. It's going to cost me $1 to do this. My VA is $5 an hour. Technically, it's only 70 cents to have her listen to it for 10 minutes. So I'm going to do that.
And then transcribe the notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Saving 30 cents. But okay, I mean, we'll see where it takes us. Everyone says technology is exponential. So who knows what it is in 5 to 10 years, but just want to get your opinion.
5 to 10 years, we'll be sending out AI freaking acquisition managers that are going in like iRobot knocking on the door.
Yeah, true. Robots, and it'll give you a scope of work by the penny.
That'll be fascinating. As soon as they can get that to go into any kind of trade, we're all screwed. Like, have you seen like the robots that I've seen them on like trade shows on YouTube and stuff that are like installing plumbing and doing different things?
Did you see the one that got in a fight with people?
I did see that one. That was in China though. China's just giving us like warnings without giving us warnings, right? Like, especially like it's like child sized. So I'm like, what are you going to do? Like dress it up like a kid and have just go dick punch politicians?
Oh, shit.
But no, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I've seen the one that is like plumbing, or I've also seen ones that will do like flooring, the stuff that's like kind of super repetitive. And as soon as that becomes affordable and traditional, it's going to be a very different ballgame very quickly. But
we'll have to do what we always do, which is just pivot.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say revolt, fight the machines.
Yeah. Sort of revolutionary war.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works. Yeah.
I guess one last topic, and this is just something I experienced yesterday, where we had 3 deals that I was like pretty certain we had in the bag, right? And I did the thing you're not supposed to do, where I was like mentally counting the money before it ever even got signed. This would be like,
you jinxed it.
like 70 grand worth of revenue coming in. And we went 0 for 3. Like, whether that be like ghosted us, they had a change of opinion, a family member wants to buy it, all this stuff. And I found myself, I was closing out like the work day. I was in a bad mood, and I'm trying to like separate the work from my everyday life. I'm not trying to be a dick to my wife or like be pleasant to be around. So I don't know if you guys have opinions around that, or if you experience some of the same stuff, but that's how I've been struggling with lately.
So I'll tell you from on a personal level is that will get better with just more experience. I've been playing this game for a little bit longer than you have, Dylan. Like not that much more, like a couple years maybe. And I would say that after a while, you just kind of get used to it. I will also say that it is easier when you have a team, which almost sounds counterintuitive because like usually it's the team that's making mistakes. But when you have people that, I don't know, I would say like are kind of like reliant on you and are supporting the process and are bought in, it's like, losing like a team sport, like a soccer game versus like a tennis match that you lost yourself, right? Like you kind of lose together, you win together. I feel like the peaks and valleys are a little bit better that way than when you're just a one-man show or you're like a really small business. That's my personal take on it, is that like it'll change over time. If it doesn't, I don't know, maybe you should talk to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Seek therapy is Mike's answer. Yeah.
But do you have thoughts on that, Aaron?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like all this stuff goes in cycles. So everyone I talk to at any level of business, it's kind of the same, because I talk a lot about I can go from like, I'm on top of the world and unstoppable. And like, I made this phone call, I made $100,000. Like, look at me, to like, even in the same day or like same hour, like I want to crawl in a hole.
Oh yeah.
It's like so up and down, but I think you kind of get used to it, or that that's how it is. Mm-hmm. So I think my thing is always like when things are going well, like cool, ride that wave. When we're getting deals, like be glad, like we're going to get more. And then when you're not, know that it's not going to last. Mm-hmm. But I think the hard part for me is I feel like a lot of responsibility. When you have a team too, like if I'm in a bad mood, if I'm like down, like that affects everyone. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my role as a leader is much more like just hyping people up.
Totally.
Not like falsely, but if I create a better environment, everyone does better. Mm-hmm. Where I feel like my job as a leader is to kind of like be level-headed, control the things you control. If you can't, it's like whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely more hardened now than I am when I first started this thing. Like that's a fact. Totally. And I woke up today and I was like, fine. It was just like literally a couple hours yesterday. I'm like, this fucking sucked. Pretty much.
Well, I think that's part of being human, right? I mean, that happens to everybody. Same thing will happen or I've had prospects for scale or different things who go to a different route. And it's funny, I'll get spiteful. I'll be like, fuck that person, right? And I'll get like kind of like bitter about it for different reasons. But they're all personal problems. Honestly, like everyone has the right to their own choice. Even like your sellers, you miss out on those deals for different reasons. There's probably something you can do to do it better next time, right? And I think it's instead reflecting on what could be done better, what can you improve on, what's the next opportunity. And then something else as well, I always find just sort of helps is if you go and you look at like the big picture for your company over the last quarter, 6 months to a year, and just see what that looks like. And you realize that whatever happened today doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah. And my first 2 months were great. So like, our Q1 still looks great on paper. Right. So
the other thing I add too is like find things that actually get your mind off stuff. For me, like going to the gym, playing pickleball, like stupid things, like whatever.
You're a 35-year-old dad. That's a 35-year-old middle-aged man.
Yeah, but it's like, it's certain things that you're like, hey, if I'm doing this, I like actually can't.
Yes.
Like it forced me to not be able to think about whatever else. Find those hobbies that are actually an escape from something.
Yeah.
Where it's not like your mind's still racing the whole time. It's like, hey, I actually have to focus on this.
Yeah.
And completely like get my mind off things. That's been really helpful too.
Yeah, it's actually a big thing that I like is the very intentionally removing yourself from a position where you even can focus on stuff. So I know a very common thing, especially for new entrepreneurs, is all of their downtime, because they're excited, is spent reading, listening to like real estate or business podcasts, studying whatever, doing mindfulness stuff, journaling, all those things. Those feel like they're rest because you're not actively working. And also when you get past like the procrastination point, which a lot of people do, they use it, that means procrastination. But when you understand the balance of doing those things and working, there has to be a point where you just kind of like let that stuff stop. So like for me, people ask me all the time, like what kind of podcasts and stuff I listen to. And I'm like, well, I listen to comedy podcasts and I'll listen to Hermosi podcast when he has a topic that I like. But that's it. I don't listen to real estate shows. I don't listen to business shows. I don't read like business books unless I have a good reason to do so. And I very intentionally, when I'm doing other recreational activities, I completely disconnect it from my business as much as possible. And if it's something like I'm hanging out, playing PlayStation, and I keep thinking about something with the business, that typically just means that I'm disorganized and probably need to address that before I'm actually going to be able to disconnect. And that just comes down to like an organizational issue or like a planning issue.
A lot of the stress comes from like conversations that you should have that you just aren't having.
Mm-hmm.
So the procrastination part of that, which I've personally dealt with. I used to do the whole miracle morning thing that like David Osborne from Wake Up, and I don't do it anymore, but I've made more money, like hand over fist more since I've stopped doing that and just started working more. And that's the last thing I want to end on.
So as everyone else who ever stopped doing it. And here's the thing, just like if you are into stuff like that, it's a great disciplinary practice. It's like 75 hard, right? People that do 75 hard all the time are stupid. If you've never done something that's like a disciplined regimen before, like Miracle Morning, 7 Hour, whatever it is, it teaches you about discipline. And then you can choose to carry that into the rest of your life going forward. Or you can just go back to being a piece of shit. It's up to you.
There's no in between.
The other thing I'll add to that too is like having people that get it. Mike became a close friend because I locally don't have friends who do what I do or understand what I do. And, it's not super normal to be how I would have someone like, hey, like, I just messed up this call that lost us 30, 40 grand. Or, oh, cool. Like the day of closing, the seller didn't want to pay his taxes. So we didn't get paid today. Like all those things that are like normal in our world that are not normal with any normal people. So it's always been super helpful to have connections who kind of get it.
Mm-hmm. The Scale group is a good example.
Yeah. Or Scale communities. Yeah. Big thing. We have accountability groups in there that people get a lot of value from. I have GoBundance. Dylan's is in GoBundance. Like that's a big reason people join stuff like that. But that actually changes a lot. Or way back when, Aaron, when we were in CCF, that's exactly what it was there is that was the big eye-opening thing was all of a sudden I was around a bunch of people that really got what we were trying to do.
Yeah. Once you realize you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And doing whatever in the middle of whatever.
And not only that, but you'll meet people that are exactly like you that somehow made $100,000 last month. And you're like, what the fuck?
They're not special.
Like
I could do this.
They're not special at all.
Or you meet people that are not good at anything that made $100,000 last month.
Exactly. That always happens too. But yeah, I think just to round that all out though, if you do feel those stress, like having an outlet is super, super important. And you don't need to be productive 24/7. And a lot of times I'll say when you find out this balance, you will actually find that when you learn how to disconnect in the times when you are working, you will be infinitely more productive. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Aaron, thanks for coming on today, buddy. Really quick again, where can people find you on Instagram? And also, what's your podcast? I know you started something recently. If you want to plug that, if you're still doing it.
Yeah. My Instagram is just Aaron.Bihl. My podcast is called no name REI. It's just me ranting about kind of whatever's going on. No guests, just kind of short episodes from me, kind of what's going on in the business, life, whatever.
Cool. So you call it a podcast. It's like a vlog, but without the video. Because basically just you talking about your feelings on the internet.
A vlog without the video, yep.
Perfect.
Otherwise known as an MP3, but yeah.
Yeah, an MP3. Yeah. But awesome, buddy. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. And thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want more from us, you can shoot us a follow on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorMan Dan. And Dylan is at Dylan_does_deals. Shoot us a follow and send us a DM to let us know what you think of the show.